All right. So Marlene, what's happening? Do you have an I need statement and a little situation, little or big, to go with it?
Yes, and first, it was just even really hard for me to use the word I need. And so when I originally wrote it, I wrote, I would like, because it's just really hard for me to say that this is what I need. But
Right.
as I was listening to you work with Jeanette, and some of your responses, and I rephrased it.
Thank you for that. I think that's true for a lot of people. And we've all learned to really minimize our needs in some ways, but
Yeah.
if you're really getting a knee-jerk reaction, it probably actually is a need, but it's just really hard to go there. But part of the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet that we're going to learn on Friday includes I want. You can even say I would like,
Yeah.
They are, they should, I want, I need. So yeah, we'll get to that.
So I need her to apologize and stop giving me the silent treatment, which has been going on for 3 months now.
Yeah, and there is a thing going on out there where some adult children are sort of
Rejecting and ghosting parents. I know. I've read a lot
it's
about
a
it.
thing.
It is. It's a thing.
We've
It's
had
the same thing.
it's very difficult. We've had women and men in this group with things like that, and that I think the children ultimately will still probably have to work through their issue anyway, and it's just so devastating to the parent on the receiving end.
Yeah.
And okay, so she should. What would you say? In this case, it could even be. It probably really does feel like a need. Could you say it again so I can get it on paper?
I need her to apologize and stop giving me the silent treatment.
Okay, so
I mean, there's so much that led up to this point. There's a lot of backstory, but I don't know how much you want to get into that and how much time
this is all we need for now, but
Okay.
over time you would be able to work through every single bit of it. So if that's partly why we work in groups too, or we kind of longer term, is even when you learn this, that doesn't mean you've had time to drill down through all the programming that's still triggering you or the memories that still feel hurtful. So you will be able to, though, see the gifts in those over time. One thing I just want to mention is it's so cool, and that's partly what quieted my thoughts, is to learn to only have one concept in each need statement. So the I need her to apologize to me. Let's put to me, because that gives us an object that makes the turnarounds work best. I need her to apologize to me, and then take out the and. I need her to stop giving me the silent treatment. Okay. Part of the reason we like to separate those is they are very different concepts. So if you say, is it true? The mind doesn't know which one to say yes or no to. So that's why we try to boil it down to one concept per one-liner. So if you were to work this, I need her to stop giving me the silent treatment. I'm going to go with that one.
Okay.
And we're going to go through this very quickly. And I'm going to let people know that it's recorded so that they can still hear it. So is it true you need her to stop giving you the silent treatment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm rewriting it, and I'm sorry. You're asking me.
No, it's good to write it. I'm glad you're doing that, because it's the thought itself that we're questioning, not her behavior. So I need her to stop giving me the silent treatment is your one-liner. And then question one is it true?
Is it true? I mean, do I really need her to live? Probably not.
Right. So let's give it a yes for the first one, just because I think you really are hurting. But for the second one, can you absolutely know it's true, or can you absolutely know that's what you need in this moment, is where your no, I think, will really fit.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, no, I'm I can see it's tricky on this one because you were already questioning the concept of need. So it's pretty easy for you to get a no. But part of you, really does feel like you need it. That's why I gave you a yes. If you're in a lot of pain, part of you can really be suffering with this absence and this thought that it should be different than it is. So how do you react? What happens? Think of a situation. Maybe you text her, maybe you called and left a message. Can you find one situation? Can you think of a situation in your mind that we can focus on to do this next part? Uh-oh, did you freeze? She seems to be frozen. Okay, so I'm just going to pretend to work her side of it. So she'll be able to hear the recording lately. So yeah, I called her, I left a message, I didn't hear back that night, the next day. How do you react? I start to feel hopeless. I start to wonder what I said or did wrong. My mind goes, I'm never going to ever see or hear from her again. I start to feel devastated, like life has no meaning without my daughter. I feel kicked in the stomach. I'm way over in her business, believing I'm imagining what she's thinking and believing and why she's doing this. I worry about how she's doing. I'm really mad at her for not doing it, but I can't quite admit that to myself because I just need her. Whatever, that might be my reaction. I'm taking Marlene's part since she dropped off, and I just want to finish this piece of work. So question 4, who would you be without the thought, I need her to stop giving me the silent treatment? Without that thought, I would just be curious. It's like, wow, what is going on here? Look at what life is bringing me. Look at this chance to find ways that I was dependent or find ways I may have been disrespecting her wishes. And just kind of curious. Trusting what shows up. Wow, it's kind of like a cliffhanger movie. Wow, when is she going to get back to me? I don't even know. And then continuing to bring the focus back on me. What's my business? How am I taking care of myself in the meantime? Yeah, so that's just the short version. And it can be, who would you be without that thought while you're walking through the grocery store, while you're falling asleep, while you're cooking her favorite dinner? And you can just see how everything is fine in your world. And then you believe the thought, my daughter is ghosting me. I need her to stop giving me the silent treatment. So you can see what happens is you take away your peace and connection to the moment because the thought says this should be different than it is. This moment needs to include her being in touch with me. And yet, again, that's monkey mind playing God, who's in charge of what shows up in any given moment, all the pieces that come together. It's certainly not our limited intellect. So turn the thought around. I need me to stop ghosting myself, I need me to stop giving myself the silent treatment. Find out, how are you doing that? How do you ignore yourself and put everyone else's needs first? How are you so caught up in her unresponsiveness that you're kind of ignoring yourself or being cruel to yourself? Again, it's like if you were holding a 4-year-old and telling them, well, we're not going to be okay until she gets back to us. So that's, rather than you really being attentive to what you need, you're like, oh, well, I guess let's just watch them. And this little part of you is getting ignored and is really suffering and needs some help with the thinking that's causing that suffering. So turn the thought around again to the other. I need me to stop giving her the silent treatment. You can still keep reaching out to her unless she has specifically asked you not to. You can be reaching out to her. You can keep your heart completely open. In the question 3, how do I react? What happens when I believe the thought that I need her to be different than she is? That one thought. You might close your heart to her in a big way. And we will find that it is never what the other person's doing that hurts. It's when we close our own heart, because we are love. And if we can let that love flow through us unconditionally, we're good. We're like, okay, I don't know what her life path is all about. All I know is I'm going to be loving her from over here. I'm not giving her the silent treatment. My heart is wide open and supporting her from here, or I'm reaching out at the times that feel good to me. I'm keeping my own counsel. I'm still letting her know I'm here. I'm her mom, whatever that is. So how would you read that turnaround? It's what you can do. We don't need to leave our well-being in their hands. And finally, the turnaround to the opposite is I don't need her to stop ghosting me or giving me the silent treatment. I need her to do exactly what she's doing. I don't need her to stop because our relationship was getting really difficult anyway. And if I'm honest with myself, I'm grateful for this time. It's helping me recover. It's helping me get back to my own life. Hopefully it's healing for her on that end too. So I don't need her to, because there are benefits of things being just the way they are, except for my mind says I need it to be different. I don't need her until she does. I'm going to be okay either way. I'm going to be the curious, compassionate caretaker of the littlest parts of me. And some, people that have worked through this with me a lot is, okay, we have this definition of mothers and daughters are supposed to be in touch. How often? Some people talk every day, multiple times a day. My daughter and I don't. So if I were to compare my daughter and I's relationship with those parents and their daughters, I'd be feeling a lack. Some people's daughters hug them a lot and say, I love you. Mine doesn't. And so again, if I were to compare, and so what is the definition? Some people's moved to the other side of the world and may or may not ever have contact again. Look at all the people who had to leave Ireland forever and have a life here, say goodbye. We didn't have cell phones, So what is your definition is partly we set up a standard. Mother and daughter should be like this, because it's not like this. But if you're who defined what that relationship is supposed to look like anyway? It's mostly that, we bought into a mind-made standard that said it needs to be this way. And when we use that, then it hurts. And without that, we're just like, wow, okay, there's this woman out there that was either adopted by me or came in the world through me. And she's out there doing her life. And right now it doesn't seem to include contact with me. And she may be thinking of me all the time, but I can't know that either. So anyway, that's another turnaround to the opposite is, who's to say what it's supposed to look like? It shouldn't look any different than it does. This is your relationship with your daughter right now, going through all the phases that you and she need to go through. And we can't know what's being accomplished on a grand scale here. So it really is such, for me, this work turned into fearless faith, a true turning it over to something greater, and not just trying to white knuckle it and have faith when I didn't believe it. I actually can give my mind the turnarounds and say, oh, I was way over there believing that. And I find that this is as true or truer. And then mine just comes back to the middle and gets curious about what's showing up and knows that I cannot know what's being accomplished. And the people who work with me end up realizing we don't know what's a good or a bad outcome, how those really bad things could turn into something good.